Welcome everybody back here at Veil of Sound. Welcome back with, I think by now it's nearly a regular thing that we also do interviews during the week, but let's just call it a surprise because these two fine gentlemen here also gave us a surprise release a few weeks ago when they released their latest album, Here and Now. So I'm very happy to have John Edwards and Richard van Kruysdijk from Palais Ideal here on the show. So guys, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, as usual, the first thing here, the plug of the day, I will give you two a moment to think which band or project you would like to plug. As I now have a chance of two people plugging something, I also took the joy of plugging two things. I will plug one band from Barcelona, Desam Libre, who haven't released anything in the last 1.5 years, which is a very, very sad thing. Electronic post-punk, similar to what these two gentlemen are doing, and similar electronic or musical vein also, No from Montreal. So the other side of the ocean. Two very interesting post-punk projects, I have to say.
Uh-huh.
Now, you gentlemen, your chance to plug a band that you think deserves more attention.
Well, there's one band that I'm always very surprised that they are not much bigger. British band called Desperate Journalist. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we want to stay like in a bit of the post-punk scene, it's amazing singer, really, really good songs, wonderful production, made several albums, and very much underappreciated. I think they should be much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Desperate Journalist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'd go with the last thing that I was just listening to in the car, which is Void Vision, mm-hmm. Which is just sort of like absolutely perfect alternative pop music, and yeah, something that deserves a little bit more attention. Mm-hmm. And needs to put out some more records.
Yeah. For everybody who now wonders, why do these two gentlemen sound a little different when it comes to their accent? Because Mr. Edwards here is an expat, if I remember correctly, living in the Netherlands, where Richard is originally from, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. I also have to say, John, for everybody who doesn't know, John is the vocalist in the band. And that was something that I automatically loved also about the new record. There is this certain sound in the voice, that kind of intonation, which automatically brings us back 40 years, which takes us back to the early 80s. And now that is also something that I would like to ask. I mean, you are making music in the 21st century, during the pandemic, pre-pandemic, after the pandemic. But are you aware that your music has a certain nostalgic touch?
I don't think it's deliberate, but it's just we've been around for a little while and we've been playing together for a long, long time. So I think a lot of the music that we made decades ago is still kind of within us, so to speak. And we listen to music from many different eras, from, you know, the 1950s to today. And it all just sort of goes into the big melting pot.
Yeah. Before anybody asks, I looked it up a little bit, of course, being a curious guy. The first release for John that I found was in 1992. Allons avec les lettres.
Oh, cool.
And that is even on YouTube. I will link it because it sounds really cool. It really sounds amazing.
Oh, wow.
And, I'm afraid if I say the name of Richard's first bigger band, I might be being persecuted by the church, because his first bigger project was Palais Ideal.
Exactly.
Right immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Something that I would like to to make it clear, those two gentlemen have been around for quite some time. John's first release, as I said, 1992. The first that I found for Richard was 1993 with Palais Ideal. So more than 3 decades by now. But I also have a question about the band's name. Are you aware? I mean, I'm German. I admit that, right? But are you aware that you are basically combining two Neue Deutsche Welle bands, two bands from the new era of German pop music at the beginning of the 80s?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Palais Chambord, which I also really like, and Ideal, of course.
Yeah.
But but it's not because of that. I mean, of course, Palais. I also had the same association, but of course, it's based on the Palais Ideal, which is a structure like an art building in France. Yeah, which kind of we felt like it. There's a similarity with our sound and how we kind of intuitively create a bit of outsider art. There's a lot of aspects like in that concept that we also kind of felt related to.
There is also something similar in the sense of a love for forms, because if anybody looks at the Palais Ideal records, on most of them, I think there is one where I didn't see it, but on most of them you have a hexagon.
On all of them.
Then I just didn't recognize it as such. But
yeah, there's just maybe one single that doesn't have a hexagon. But all the
something like that, right?
all the albums have a hexagon. Yeah, it actually started with our first photo shoot, which we did at the Evoluon, which is one of the most amazing buildings in the Netherlands. But it looks like a giant UFO. And inside there's this big dome, and the dome is kind of covered in hexagon shapes. So that was the backdrop of our photo shoot, and we kind of like that. And also the hexagon, when you go to nature, like it is the most. There's a whole document, a really interesting document. It's the most how do you say it, like the best,
the most
shape.
frequent, right?
Yeah, the strongest, because you see it in with beehives and in all kinds of when bubbles, that you can blow, when they get together, they immediately form hexagons.
Yeah.
So it's really a universal harmony.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's also the shape of the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, where you have all those.
Indeed.
How should I say? That looks like pillars, but it's not.
Yeah.
But it's all kinds of hexagons. Yes. Yeah, that's
exactly.
true.
Yeah.
And you've just spoken about, like structures and stuff like that. However, if I understood it correctly, like most of the structures, when we talk about architecture, when we talk about hexagons, very often they are preconceived. When I listen to Here and Now, I basically hear to a spontaneous eruption, right?
It's a spontaneous eruption with some method behind it.
Yeah.
It's but basically a lot of the previous albums that we did were quite sort of worked out beforehand in our own studios before we got together, and then started refining what we'd come up with. And this time we thought, okay, we've been playing music for so long, we've been playing together for so long. Let's see what happens if we try to deliberately not overthink and just start jamming.
So if you are basically in the here and now.
Precisely, yes.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine, of course, it was clear from the beginning that if you two do music together in this kind of way, if you go to a studio without preconceived songs, of course, there usually will come out something that is Palais Ideal. But were you amazed of how the process then went? Was it difficult? Was it easy?
It was really easy, and it was sometimes really special in the way that John would just play a few chords. I would start a bass riff, and we would like simultaneously switch to a different chord. Like intuitively going, oh wow, what did we just do? Without saying, okay, let's go to this.
Yeah.
So, and we had like these moments. Kind of, it happens because we know each other a long time. We played with Palais Ideal. We played a lot, and I think especially also with live playing, you kind of you get tuned in on each other. and it just gets really easy, when you just then step into a studio, strap on your guitar, put on the amp, program it like a simple rhythm, and start playing. It's easy, accessible inspiration.
Yeah, I think that the sort of the challenge was, you often hear bands say, yeah, we went back to basics and we just improvised, and usually it just sounds like the same sort of blues riff for 25 minutes with very little variation.
Yeah.
And I think because we've maybe had a little bit more sort of training. Richard writes for scores for ballets and stuff, and I started off sort of with some classical training.
You should write a score for the Spandau Ballet.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't.
But yeah, we kind of thought, let's keep it really simple and spontaneous, but bring in those sort of elements as well. So we just come up with slightly more interesting harmonies and melodies, we think, and rhythms. Because Richard did a lot of the drumming live as well. And just kind of make it a little bit more musically interesting without losing the spontaneity, basically.
Did you, Richard, John, then also write the lyrics on the spot, or did they come after?
Usually it was just like shouting some stuff during the jamming session, and then sort of trying to remember if any of it made sense. And then just refining that. So just sort of like, what's the first impression that the music gives? What are some words or phrases that spontaneously spring to mind? And then, kind of tweaking that.
Sorry for trying to clarify that. So when you went into the studio, you had nothing written, but before you recorded, you wrote the songs in the studio, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we, because when you're refining the songs while you're working in the studio, you're playing them all the time. Yeah. So also you're getting much more connected to the songs and the subtleties. And then finally, when we say, okay, I think this song is ready to be recorded, then it's just 1 or 2 takes with each instrument, and you're done. Because it's. No. And it's there, and that feels kind of good. So you don't the whole process of trying to work a lot more in the studio.
Yeah,
that is just that didn't happen. It wasn't necessary. Yeah.
Did you have to learn the songs afterwards for any live shows or for any performance?
That's what we need to do next. We now have to kind of pull a tour together and then sort of rehearse everything.
At the same time, there is something that popped in my head, because you are making, and I hope you don't mind me saying, but it is some kind of genre music. It is post-punk. For me, this time with a little bit more emphasis on punk than on previous records. There are a few very cool, a little harsher moments. But at the same time, it is post-punk, but the way you are doing it, or the way you have recorded this is basically against most structures of this genre. You were aware of it.
Well, it depends. The term post-punk is so... there are a lot of bands that are called post-punk. I think this post-punk. I think when we talk about post-punk, we're referring to like the first bands.
Yeah. Joy Division, Bauhaus.
Magazine, Buzzcocks.
Undertones, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which.
And even they in themselves are already so diverse. I know. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think it's the punk music, but with like a much more I don't know, with an art injection. Something like that. But the energy, I think that's for us. It's also the starting point when we start jamming. The energy that you want to convey, that you want to express. That's the main thing. And a lot of music that is called post-punk now is like very moody, quiet. And then I think, is this okay? Yeah, well, it's labeled post-punk now, but it's totally different in energy-wise than what we are making. That's so. I don't know if that's what you meant, but I see that too.
But it's also musically, post-punk for us is things like the Sound magazine, pretty melodic music.
Yeah.
But with that sort of punk anger.
Yeah.
And, you now have like a lot of bands with the post-punk label, and it's just kind of, just very
gloomy,
basic, and So it's a very broad label, essentially, that a lot of things can fall under.
Yeah.
But I think that the punky aspect is very much, in our case, it was like, there's a lot going on in the world that we can get pretty angry about. Let's do something positive with that anger.
It's good that you mentioned that, because I also wanted to come to the aspect of the lyrics. I mean, the record has a pretty programmatic title, Here and Now. And when I look at Here and Now, I would say that this world is pretty fucked up. And it's not just because of politics, but I have a question for the Englishman. Maybe he knows. What was the Oxford University Press word of 2025? Because I think that word describes our society perfectly.
No, you'll have to tell me. I've read this.
Rage bait.
Yes, that is exactly the kind of thing that we pretty much deal with lyrically. Like this constant manipulation and this constant sort of barrage of information being fed into people. And just people missing the point entirely, sort of getting upset, but not about the things
that really matter.
Should be getting upset about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Epstein files.
Well, as to the title Here and Now, I like the ambiguity of it, because it's here and now, and you think here and now it's shit, and that's your first association with it. But it's also like here and now, being in the here and now. It's a very Zen kind of. It's also very positive. There is no past, there is no future. There's only now.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I like the ambiguity of that.
To clarify the difference that John just spoke about when it comes to post-punk as a genre, I think there is a very good example. If you listen to a band like, let's say, Bauhaus, and if you then listen to Interpol, both are labeled post-punk, but Interpol is a great band, nothing against Interpol, but you could also put out the punk in Interpol. Mm-hmm. And it would still sound like Interpol. It's like a very, very good kind of moody indie rock.
Mm-hmm.
But the grit and anger is sometimes, most of the times, missing. Whereas when you listen to the Undertones, to Bauhaus, to Joy Division, there was criticism in that music.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm very sure that you would say that all of those older bands are a kind of inspiration, but is there one band, one artist or two where you say, okay, those are really people that inspired my songwriting, my lyricism, where you say like, okay, that is somebody that I not only look up to, but also influenced me directly?
Something older or something relatively new, or could it be
whatever, John? If you now say the Twilight Set, then I'm very happy, because it's one of my favorite modern post-punk.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy whenever I can drop the name Twilight Set in any interview. You should be listening more to Twilight Set.
I don't know. I think during this sort of whole process, I was listening to a lot of very old punk rock, basically. So, just things like Discharge and Conflict.
And so even stepping into the realms of hardcore punk.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like Conflict, again, it's punk, but it's really, really musically well executed and well written. It's really, I mean, it's almost like the prog rock version of punk. And I think that was very inspiring. It's like, okay, it's anger, but there's also like a kind of intelligence and sensitivity and a kind of curatorship almost of that anger going on.
Yeah, and I think it's not so much, you know, what we're looking for. It's not so much anger, but it's intensity and I think
and melody, right? Also,
yeah, of course, yeah. But I mean, in the expression, it doesn't have to be angry. It has to be intense, and it can also be intensely soft.
Yeah,
or
I
just like
you do know that
music.
we're going back to Spandau Ballet now. If it intentionally soft, yeah.
Well, you know, if you listen to that first album, it's kind of cool.
It's pretty gritty, yeah.
Through the barricades.
But
not to take away anything from Spandau Ballet. They had some really good songs. But Richard, is there somebody where it's like, okay, that bass player, that's somebody that I take something from?
Yeah, well, I have such a broad taste. If I, you know,
that's the excuse that everybody brings if he doesn't want to pin down one musician.
Yeah, well, I can name a bass player which I greatly admire, but it has nothing to do with the way I play. But I'm just going to say Mick Karn from Japan, because Japan is one of my favorite bands of all time. Yeah, and I love the bass player on, I forgot the name now, from Exmal Deutschland, if we're talking German bands.
Oh, damn it. Mon Amour? No.
The other one. she was the keyboard.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Anyway, but yeah, there's so much. And I think in relation to Palais Ideal, like a few older bands, which I think
Rita Simon.
Okay. Yeah. But I was listening to like the new albums by, for instance, Psychedelic Furs or Stranglers. I think, you know, they are still on top, and you can hear that they kind of don't have anything to prove anymore, and there's like a kind of self-awareness and ease in their playing and composing, which is just very very impressive, I think. Yeah. And
I think that's also something that one could say for Palais Ideal. You guys do not have to prove anything for anybody anymore, which on the other hand means that you're only in it for, first of all, for yourself, right?
Yeah, I was always in it for myself.
The only way to make music.
Yeah.
But once you start worrying about what other people think, it's an endless.
That's a big trap that some people fall in, but it's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, and it also basically turns bands into factories. You know, you have to deliver a certain sound over and over. I mean, like, think of Coldplay, a band that started with some really good albums, but then all of a sudden it's like we have to bring this formula over and over and over again. And that is something that I would not say for here and now, because there is something that I really like about the record, even if I would say it sounds as if it's like 40 years ago, but there is this urgency in there. And that is something that I really like. Yeah. It is in the here and now.
I'm glad to hear that.
If we talk about this studio thing all the time, there is also something that I want to ask. I mean, I've read up on it, but for this recording, for this whole thing, you chose Peter Kloos. I mean, like, the guy is known for very good productions, but he's also known more for rock and roll, motorcycle.
Well,
can you explain the deliberate choice for him?
Well, actually, I mean, before the releases that you discovered on internet by John and by myself, John and I were in a band together, very, very long time ago in a prehistoric age, and we recorded the very first demo that we recorded was by Peter Close. So it's very funny, and I mean that was the only time we worked together, and then for decades we went our separate ways, and he went, touring with Motor Psycho and working with a lot of bands, and becoming a very, very good producer and masterer. And but he still lives in Eindhoven, also where we also live. So kind of reconnected again, because we just had the idea we want to take it a bit away from dark wave, from the kind of polished, more synth-driven sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Peter, I mean, he's known for his more rock stuff, but he's also a really big old synth wave fan, and so he knows what we want to say, and he knows our roots because we have the same roots, and so that was the reason why we chose him.
A good choice. Good choice.
No, he was like the perfect guy, because he's, like you say, he's known for these very sort of, full on, pretty aggressive rock and roll productions.
Pedal to the metal.
Yeah, exactly. But while we were mixing, he kept sort of referencing, okay, this bit sounds like Susie and the Banshees. Okay, this sounds a bit like Joy Division, and he knows that kind of music really, really well, and he kind of knows the whole sort of aesthetic, sonically, that goes with it. So yeah, he did a fantastic job.
And the aesthetic, I think, is very important. Also, when I look at the cover of the record, on the one hand, it's very simplistic because of the lettering and everything. On the other hand, of course, we have the hexagon, and we have some background photo of houses or apartments. So we get a sense of like kind of urban sprawl, but the lettering and the color are very, very aesthetically 2026-ish, which I love. Again, it's very here and now. One last thing, you've already mentioned you have to learn some of the tracks for upcoming shows. You have toured with some pretty famous bands. You've toured with Clan of Cymox and with Wire. How did that happen? How did that get together?
Well, actually, our very first gig was supporting Wire. I know Graham Lewis through another project. I worked with him on a few songs. So when we started Palais Ideal, and we're thinking of, maybe we should bring this to the stage. And I saw that Wire was playing in the Netherlands, so I thought, that would be a really great combination if we could open for them. So, and they were really into it. So, yeah, that's how it came about. Yeah. And Clan of Cymox by now are we know them quite well and played lots of times together with them. It's really fun, and there's a lot of kind of mutual respect, and it fits together really nice, because we're really different, but we kind of have the same audience also. So yeah.
So, gentlemen, first of all, thanks for the insight into the new record, into the touring, into the writing process. But of course, nobody leaves a Veil of Sound interview without going for the quick fire round at the end. You always get two alternatives, both have to choose, and maybe give a short explanation for your answer. We'll start off with something a little bit more on the goth side of post-punk. Susie and the Banshees versus Sisters of Mercy. Which artist would you rather listen to right now?
That's a hard one.
Oh, that's really...
Believe me, it's one of the easier ones on my list.
Oh, no.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, man, it's like, sort of like, who do you love more, your mother or father sort of question. Maybe music, purely musically, maybe a slight preference for Susie and the Banshees.
I'll also give you another way out. For most of these questions, just think about who would I rather listen to right now? That's something like that. I think that makes it easy. So for you, it would be Susie? Okay, Richard.
Then I'm also going to say Susie, because
Always.
Kenny died a few days ago.
Mhm.
I just finished the autobiography of Budgie. So I'm very much in their universe now somehow, and listening to them. So kind of also rediscovering a lot of stuff that I hadn't heard a long time, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'll give you two of those early post-punk bands: the Buzzcocks versus the Undertones.
I'd go with Buzzcocks.
Mm-hmm. So Ever Fallen in Love, rather Ever Fallen in Love and Teenage Kicks. Okay.
Yeah.
Although I made so much fun of Spandau Ballet, I think they have some really great hits, and I would like to use them as the jumping board for new romanticism. I'll give you Spandau Ballet versus Duran Duran.
Duran Duran for me. Amazing bass player, by the way.
Yeah,
that's true.
I
think that guy is underrated.
Yeah, absolutely. All the musicians are very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
lyrically, they're both terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hungry Like the Wolf versus Through the Barricades.
Hungry Like the Wolf is one of the worst. And anyway.
No, the worst pop song ever is Last Christmas. Even my students know that when they sing Last Christmas to me, I'm gonna literally vomit and be sick.
Well, it's nice that it's I like the fact that it's a very sad song about somebody who's getting cheated on by his girlfriend.
I think it's
a
song about the most stupid person on earth. It could be Trump, like I gave you my heart, you gave it away, now I'm
But don't forget, George Michael was a Joy Division fan, and he actually knew quite a fair bit about Joy Division.
I know. And I also generally love George Michael, but that one song makes me sick to the stomach.
Yeah, it's a lovely guy. Shame about the music, but there you go.
No, but I literally like a lot of his songs, but that song.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about something nicer, something brighter. Let's talk about The Cure. I'll give you two records: Disintegration versus Pornography.
Pornography all the way.
I hate Pornography. Like the first 4 albums are just perfect. Everything else, nah.
Yeah, for me, it started with Blood Flowers, where I would say there is a descent. Although I have to say the last record was amazing. That was a really good one. A little bit more shoegazy, but Jesus and Mary Chain versus Yo La Tengo. And I think Yo La Tengo could be the only American band on this list. Yeah, I think so.
I think Jesus and Mary Chain. With Yo La Tengo, I think it's that there's some albums which I really like, and other ones I just find not so interesting. And Jesus and Mary Chain is somehow, for me, more consistent, high quality.
I have 2 more, and you guys can choose. Shall it be the more difficult one first or the more difficult one last?
First.
Bauhaus versus Joy Division.
Yeah, I'd have to go with Joy Division. As great as Bauhaus is, but Joy Division is pretty much the pinnacle.
Richard?
I would say, yeah. Then I'm going to go with Bauhaus.
Okay. I was very happy yesterday that one of my students in 12th grade wore a Joy Division t-shirt. I was very happy. And I asked him, you do know what that is. And he could tell me stuff about the band. I was really happy.
Name 3 songs.
No, he could literally say something like okay, this is basically he had the classic, the Unknown Pleasures record t-shirt. And he could tell me something about the band. He could say okay, and I asked him can you say something about the band? And he was like, yeah, it's Joy Division. It's one of my favorite bands. It's one of my favorite records. The guy killed himself, and that's why they then formed New Order. And he was really literate about it. And I was like,
right.
Cool.
Yeah, great.
Last one, easy one with a twinkle in the eye. Ultravox versus OMD.
Why'd you say that it's easy?
Well, for me, it's easy.
Yeah, well, I would say Ultravox.
Me too.
I say OMD.
You say OMD?
However, up until like the fourth album, OMD. After that, it was a bit shit, but those first four albums are fantastic.
I mean, like, when it comes to guts, you have to give it to OMD to basically release two very, very different songs under the same name of Joan of Arc. I mean, like, that is guts, right? But I just like the voice of Mature a little more. Just a little bit. But I can understand OMD. Generally, guys, thanks for all your time. Thanks for the new record. Everybody, if you haven't listened to Here and Now, it's been out since January 16th on Dark Vinyl Records. It's a really, really cool record. And it has more to say about 2026 than one might think at first listen. And if you dive deep, you will find a lot of good stuff in there. Guys, thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks very much for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.